especially when you take into account the fact that the historical record is quite clear here that countries can suffer enormous amounts of punishment in these sorts of air campaigns, and the population does not rise up against the government and overthrow it. And in fact, what happens in most of those cases, if not all those cases, is that the population rallies around the flag. So if we think, or the Israelis think, that killing Iranian civilians is going to put pressure on...
This is the same shit Jiang says, but because he says Illuminati word, he's a crank. Yes, brother, exactly. Because his analysis is not backed by solid fundamentals. Yes, and if your analysis is not backed by a solid fundamentals, or anchored by like a understandable, decipherable worldview that still pertains to the material realities, and instead a whole bunch of hokum like Illuminati shit, then yeah, you're a crank. It's so ridiculous that there are still predictive history defenders here after he literally has said things like Jews are responsible for Islam, and that Iran is going to do Pax Islamica. He's like 90% of the way there. He's always like he delivers a very convincing response. His predictions actually are not that different from the things that I have said as well. But then the last 10% of his analysis is insane. You can arrive at a correct assessment while still, it's like Alex Jones, okay? Alex Jones is right when he said attack helicopters and people are going to get black bagged and put inside of FEMA facilities. He was right about that. Mass surveillance, he was right about that. But whatever he was anchoring his opinion off of was like lizard people, okay? And of course, that's the reason why in a long enough timeline, you watch him unwind and you watch him come up with like insane, grand, fabulous conspiracies that are totally ridiculous.
Government to quit the war. I think that's
such an uncharitable reading. You've literally been catching up to Jiang. I've been catching up to Jiang. 31 month subscriber. You are literally getting mad at Jiang clips the same way people clip you. Oh my God. Oh my God. I have to purge this community of all of the Jimmy Dore style freaks, please. Oh my God. I just need a whiteboard, I think. That'll be incredibly convincing for these guys. Maybe our community is actually kind of dumb. Yes, there are. Listen, this community is comprised of people that are heterodox thinkers, okay? Because socialism, communism, anarchism in the Western world is not a normal ideology that people share, okay? It's not the same as China, okay? Where the norm is to be like, yeah, I'm learning about Marxist-Leninism in college. I'm living in a country that is controlled by a communist party. We live in the heart of capital. We live in the heart of capitalism. And therefore, a lot of people, if they don't anchor their worldview in dialectical materialism, end up finding themselves in the throes of cranks. Okay? And this is a very large community that has, a lot of unorthodox values, and therefore some of them are finding themselves in the throes of the people who don't offer all of the soundest analysis. I admit he gets into crazy ideas in history class, but they are silly, but the analysis is good. Okay. I've been saying Jiang is like the Joe Rogan of Geopol, dumb guy, smart guy, and you collabing with him would unironically bring a ton of new people open to one-on-one radicalization. I mean, I want to talk to him. I've reached out to him because I want to understand like where he's coming from. Because like from what I understand, yeah, like this one is crazy. He said Israel and Germany are going to be the great superpowers. America done, China done. The next great empires, Germany, Japan, Israel. Not because they're powerful now, but because they've been destroyed before. Humiliation is the greatest teacher in history. The nations that suffer the most are building the world that comes next. In a lot of these circumstances, like you know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of those Twitter accounts, right? It reminds me of those Twitter accounts that make predictions, right? Like a million predictions and then delete the predictions that they made that look silly, okay? Do you understand? Because the predictions that are made that are silly can always be deleted. Or in this case, if you have a faucet of videos that you're putting out there that are reaching like peak virality because all the right ones are reaching people's attention, right? Like Nick Fuentes does this very well too. Nick Fuentes one week will say Jeffrey Epstein was based, and the next week that he'll come out and be like, I'm done with Donald Trump because he's Jeffrey Epstein's slave. People see the first video, they don't see the second one, or people see the second video, they don't see the first one, and they go, wow, this Nick Fuentes guy is kind of based. People do this all the time. Okay? I like his content. I think he's very entertaining. Can you steal man Jiang's argument about there not being enough evidence to prove that the Holocaust happened? I didn't even know that he had a video where he was denying the Holocaust. One of the most well-documented atrocities on the planet. That is insane. And you are exaggerating again. I didn't even say he has a video such as that. I'm just responding to what someone told me in the chat.
Of the Jewish race in Europe, okay? So we don't actually have any concrete evidence for the Holocaust, okay? So one piece of evidence for
I knew there was something up when he said secret societies in the interview with Cristobal on Breaking Points. If I learned one thing this year, right?
I need to see the full video. As a person who watched Jiang's lectures for hours, he's definitely cuckoo. If you watch the videos on religion and start a civilization, he equivocates religion and science. He's a master of mysticizing. He also does post hoc rationalization to readjust quite a bit after his predictions fail. I mean, I know he talked to Sneeko. He also talked to Richard Spencer. But like, I just thought that's because he's all over the place. He's just trying to get the word out to the best of his ability, and he's Chinese, so maybe he doesn't have internet, That's what I was thinking. I was like, yeah, he probably don't have internet. Because like this is the same dynamic with like, the Bangladeshi unks, right? That I talk about all the time, the WhatsApp unks. Love Nick, they love Tucker Carlson. Because like they don't see the stuff that Nick Fuentes or Tucker Carlson says about them. They only see the good stuff. They only see the stuff that they say about Israel. And they're like, oh, this guy's brilliant. This guy's really sticking it to the man, So for a lot of people, they don't see the full scope of the commentary, and they just see bits and pieces. And they just get stuck on it, and they develop like a lot of, I guess, in some ways, like a parasocial, a parasocial association with this content. I don't want to do a takedown of Professor Jiang. I want to talk to Professor Jiang. I don't think he will talk to me because I have kind of called him a crank before, but it's just like. I know you were speaking as a hypothetical Nick Fuentes first-time watcher. Please clarify that you weren't saying you find Fuentes entertaining. I don't. I'm saying that other people only see certain clips, and then they find Nick Fuentes to be brilliant or entertaining or on their side because of the clips that they see. And people will say all these clips are out of context, except you fail to consider that I've talked to the people that have interviewed Professor Jiang. Shouldn't you know whether he's a Holocaust denier before asking him on? No, I'm competent enough to be able to have a conversation with someone if they say they're a Holocaust denier, to like ask them how the they arrived at that conclusion.
There are different names for these people. You can call them like Illuminati, and the Illuminati are composed of three major groups. Okay, you have the Jesuits, who control the Vatican. You have the Sephardim Frankists, which control the modern state of Israel today. And you have the Freemasons, which control the national security apparatus of the United States. And they believe that Israel, this war in the Middle East, is key to the end times in creating heaven on earth. So it's almost like a script that they're following, even though it doesn't make any geopolitical sense. Okay, so I would say that these three are the best reasons why this is happening.
Wow. Sagar. Wow. Oh, dude, I love cranks so much. Cranks are the best, dude. They are the best. Where is the lie? No, it's all correct. Yes. No, you're right. It's the Frankists. It's the Rothschilds, brother.
I'm not sure if this statistic is correct. You can tell me if this is correct or not, right? But apparently 20% of all American white girls in their 20s are on fans, something like that.
Oh, what's the number of white women in their 20s in the USA? Let's see what that number is. White women represent roughly 56% of the 18 to 64 demographic. Come on, give me just number, man. Why can't you just spit out a number? Oh, this skeptics website did the math. Okay, what is this? I have not been able to find reliable statistics supporting the claim that 1 of 5 white American women in their 20s are on OnlyFans, either as creators or as users. Available statistics seem much smaller. For example, some estimates suggest about 2% of American women aged 18 to 45 are creators on OnlyFans, which is far below 20%. The platform reportedly has around 2 million creators worldwide, with the majority being women. If the 20% figure were true, it would imply millions of young American women in that demographic are creating OnlyFans content. Bro, I was excited when I first saw him and was talking about using game theory for predicting the future. I thought he was going to actually do some game theory, and it was just his speculations based on a lot of unconventional but true statements. The game theory is just a scenario with interests of some of the parties he lists beforehand. It sort of makes sense to the listener who is primed into believing his sensational speculations. I mean, yeah, if what is anchoring his worldview is like Frankists that control Israel and Jesuits that control the Catholic Church, the Vatican, and all this other stuff, like, yeah, of course he's gonna arrive at like some wildly speculative ideas as well. Please show chat what he means by Frankists. He's referring to an extinct Jewish heresy. Wait, why doesn't he believe in the Khazar theory? Frankism was a Sabbatean religious movement originating in Eastern Europe in the 18th and 19th centuries. Created in Podolia, it was named after its founder, Jacob Frank. Frank completely rejected Jewish norms, preaching to his followers that they were obligated to transgress moral boundaries, embracing antinomianism. The Frankists were engaged in incest orgies and sex rituals, such as the infamous 1756 incident in Langstroon, where they were allegedly caught dancing around half-naked women, symbolizing the Shekhniyah. At his height, Frankism claimed perhaps 50,000 followers, primarily Jews living in the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, as well as Iran is considering allowing a limited number of oil tankers to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, provided that the oil cargo is traded in Chinese yuan. A senior Iranian official tells CNN. Wait, what the Okay, let's do the fans clip. Let's finish that.
I'm not sure if you've heard this, but just the idea that you have a percentage of American white girls in the 20s all on fans, that's just incredible to think about, okay? And you know, like the people joke that that's what America wants to do. America wants to liberate Iranian women so that they can go on fans and enjoy American corruption and decadence, all right? So
the statistic says on Google that for women aged 18 to 24, roughly 14% are active on fans. So that's 18 to 24. Right. Imagine it's probably 20% or maybe 30% if you go up to 35, 40 years old. And the percentage of these women that are white, it's about 70%. So, and that's the narrative you're hearing from the Trump people. They're saying, oh, look, the liberals are getting owned. And they're posting images of Iranian girls stripping free of their niqab, their oppressive niqab, and now they're naked, which is so ridiculous because it's the conservative right saying the liberals are mad that women are on fans.
Yeah. So again, fans, I think, is the best indicator of a society in decline, right? So the Roman Empire, when it declined, the main problem was that women refused to have children. And so everyone was freaking out, like, what can we do about it?
This is lower than the percentage of women in this age doing fans, according to a new study. What's the study, Ryan? What do you mean?
They keep on the...
Professor Jiang says Islam was created by the Jews. I mean, Roman helmet guy is Professor Jiang, by the way, but of a different variety. So it's really ironic that he's mad at Professor Jiang when this is literally what Roman helmet guy is as well. Okay, he just does this for the Roman Empire. He's a crank as well, but for the Roman Empire, the cranks are fighting amongst themselves.
And so they keep on the fight, even though they've lost the war against...
Why is the professor in quotation marks? Because he's not actually a professor. I think he's like an English teacher in high school in like Beijing. He's not.
Romans, they will go into the Arabian desert where they will incubate a new religion called Islam, and they will prophesy the coming of the Messiah, who will turn out to be Muhammad, right? So at this point in history, the Jews must leave Jerusalem because the Romans basically kicked them out, and their religion will splinter into many different factions. And as we discussed, what will happen is those Jews who are most fanatical, they will escape into the Arabian desert and they will incubate Islam. And eventually, Islam will conquer the world. Now, at this point, they feel as though they've achieved...
Dude, okay. Everyone needs a Nation of Islam style theory. So Professor Jiang fills that void for people that are looking at the senseless bloodshed and trying to make sense of it, okay? Because, like, this is low-key, you know, Dr. Yakub. Like, this is Dr. Yakub for swagged out white boys who are trying to make sense of why America and Israel are just, like, dominating this region and pummeling it into oblivion, but refuse to base their analysis in any sort of, like, previous communist thought. I just want you all to know that no one knows who this guy is in China, and we're all laughing at you for listening to him. Okay, calm down. This guy is China's greatest mind.
The Messianic age, and they have returned to Jerusalem.
I don't think he has any good takes, Law. No, he does. He does. He absolutely does. We're just looking at all the bad takes in a row. That's why it's, like, hard to defend. The reason, if you are wondering why so many people, even in this community, are, like, actively trying to ride for Dr. Jiang, is because he does have a lot of viral videos that are, like, pretty on the money with respect to, like, American ambitions in the region and how it's, like, failing. So, well, Jiang is more popular than you on Bilibili, so I agree with that disagree with that former chatter.
Now, the Jews believe that in the Messianic age, the Messiah will come, lead them to victory, bring all the Jews back to Jerusalem, and build the third temple and usher in the Messianic age. Okay, and that's what they believe happened. And so this is the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem, and this is meant to be the third temple. Over time, what will happen is they will change it to become a center of Islamic worship. But in the beginning, it was really the third temple.
I cannot believe that I literally sidestepped away from two actual brilliant thinkers that have spent a lifetime, Chris Hedges being a investigative reporter that has broke incredible stories, and Professor Mersheimer, who is probably one of the most important realpolitik academics in the country, to literally watch Professor Jiang clip compilations. We are a deeply unserious community. What is wrong with me, and what is wrong with you? Oh my God. We literally took this sidestep because someone literally said, Professor Jiang and Professor Mersheimer agree on everything. I'm so stupid. I'm going back to serious shit, please.
Is